Picture this. You're hosting a Halloween party with your new partner. Invites are sent, venue is booked, everything's perfect. Then your ex walks in. Not just walks in, she starts filming herself dancing to a song literally about being hotter than your current girlfriend while you're standing right behind her. This actually happened. This is the Nicolandria aftermath we need to talk about, because that same week, Taylor Williams posts an elaborate girlfriend proposal to Clarke with a caption that has the entire Love Island fandom convinced he's throwing shade at Olandria. We're talking roses, saxophones, a neon sign, the full production. Meanwhile, Nic and Olandria are just trying to exist without labels, and for that, they're getting absolutely destroyed online. The timing, the captions, the song choice at that party, Cierra's defense, Taylor's Instagram post. I'm breaking down every piece of this Love Island USA Season 7 chaos, because this dating show aftermath is premium dysfunction. Ace-level mess. If you're here for the tea on Nicolandria, Nic, Olandria, Taylor, Cierra, and the wildest Love Island drama, you clicked the right video. Before we dive into this disaster, hit subscribe if you want more reality TV breakdowns. Also, smash that like button so the algorithm knows you're here for the chaos. There's a hype button too, and honestly, after this story, you might need to click it just to process everything. All right, let's get into it. Quick context for anyone who didn't follow Love Island USA Season 7. Nic and Olandria, who fans call Nicolandria, had chemistry from the very first day. The kind of chemistry that makes fan edits go viral before the first kiss even happens. But here's the thing. They spent most of the season coupled up with other people. Nic was with Cierra, Olandria was with Taylor. The villa was watching this slow burn unfold while both of them tried to make their current situations work. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. The connection between Nic and Olandria was undeniable, and everyone could see it except maybe them at first. Then came the twists, the recouplings, the drama. Eventually, they both ended up single around the same time. The moment that changed everything was when they finally admitted what everyone already knew. They wanted each other. That first kiss had the internet losing its mind. Fan pages were created overnight. Edits were trending across every platform. People were shipping them harder than any couple that season. They coupled up in the last week of the show and came in second place, which honestly felt like a win because the journey to get there was so genuine. The way they looked at each other during that final speech had people crying in the comments. The fan support was insane. Twitter was flooded with Nicolandria content. TikTok couldn't get enough. Instagram fan pages were posting multiple times a day. This wasn't just casual shipping. This was full-blown obsession from the fan base.
Post-Villa, they've been doing something that apparently makes people lose their minds. Taking it slow. No official boyfriend-girlfriend labels. No grand public declarations. Just two people actually getting to know each other outside the pressure cooker of reality TV. Getting to know someone before slapping a label on it? Revolutionary concept, apparently. They've been spotted on multiple trips together. Greece was one of the big ones that fans noticed. They've been meeting each other's families, which is a pretty significant step if you ask me. Building something real without the performance aspect. Spending time together without feeling the need to document every single moment for social media.
And somehow, this has people questioning if their relationship is even legitimate, as if taking your time is suspicious, as if not posting couple content every 5 seconds means it's fake. The internet has decided that if you're not rushing into labels and grand gestures, you must be clout chasing or playing games. Which is wild because the same people who criticize reality TV couples for moving too fast are now criticizing a couple for moving too slow. You literally cannot win. The double standard is fascinating when you really think about it. Fast means fake. Slow means fake. Apparently, the only way to prove your relationship is real is to move at exactly the pace random strangers on the internet deem appropriate. Which brings us to late October, when things escalated from regular post-show drama to absolute mayhem. Nic and Olandria decide to host a Halloween party in LA. Pretty standard influencer move. They partnered with Agua de Kefir, promoted it on social media, listed special guests from their Love Island season on the flyer. Fans were excited to see the cast reunite. The promotional material looked professional. They had a proper venue lined up. Everything seemed normal.
The guest list included multiple people from their season. It was supposed to be a fun reunion-type event where everyone could celebrate together without the drama, a chance for the cast to reconnect outside the villa environment. Just a chill Halloween party with costumes, music, and good vibes. Then, Cierra Ortega showed up. Let me be clear about something important. This was a public venue in LA. Anyone could technically buy a ticket or get on a list. Cierra didn't break into someone's private home. This wasn't a small, intimate dinner party at someone's house. It was a larger event at a venue that had tickets available to the public. So from a technical standpoint, she had every right to be there if she was invited or bought a ticket. But the optics of this situation were absolutely wild. Your ex-boyfriend is hosting a party with his new girlfriend, the woman he's now seeing after you, and you decide, yeah, I should definitely make an appearance there. The confidence required to make that choice deserves to be studied in a laboratory.
Think about the mental preparation that goes into that decision. You have to wake up, look at your calendar, see that your ex is hosting a party with his new girlfriend, and think, yes, this is where I need to be tonight. You have to pick out an outfit, knowing you're going to be in the same room as them. You have to plan your arrival time. Do you show up early? Do you show up late for dramatic effect? These are the calculations happening. And then you have to actually walk through those doors, knowing every eye in the room is going to be on you, waiting to see how this plays out. The psychological fortitude required for that is honestly impressive in a chaotic sort of way.
But Cierra didn't just show up. She showed up and immediately started creating content for social media. Photos at the venue, videos with other attendees, the whole influencer playbook. She was documenting her presence, making sure everyone knew she was there. This wasn't a quiet appearance where she slipped in, said hi to a few people and left. This was a documented presence. Stories were being posted. Content was being created in real time. If she'd just shown up quietly, taken a few photos with friends, grabbed a drink, enjoyed the party for an hour and left, this might have been a weird footnote in Love Island history. Awkward, but forgettable. People might have raised an eyebrow, but it would have blown over by the next day. Then the DJ played Don't Ya by the Pussycat Dolls. Now, maybe someone requested it, maybe it was just in the rotation, maybe the DJ had no idea about the context of who was at this party and the dynamics involved. Maybe it was pure coincidence. But at some point during this Halloween party, that song started playing, and if you know the lyrics, you know exactly why this became a problem. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? That's not subtle. That's the opposite of subtle. That's the musical equivalent of showing up to someone's wedding in a white dress and proposing to the groom. The entire premise of that song is about being superior to someone's current partner. It's literally the anthem of, I'm better than who you're with now. Cierra is recording herself at this moment. She's got her phone out. She's filming the party. She pans the camera to herself and mouths the words to the song, while Nic and Olandria are literally standing behind her in the frame. You can see them in their green costumes in the background. They're not off in some distant corner of the venue, they're right there, close enough to be clearly visible in the video. The framing of this shot has been analyzed frame by fans on social media. People have zoomed in. People have enhanced the video quality. People have created side-by-side comparisons. The internet went full detective mode on this footage. The internet absolutely exploded. Within hours, this video was circulating on every platform. Twitter had it trending. TikTok had multiple videos breaking it down. Instagram fan pages were reposting it with commentary. Reddit threads were being created to discuss every angle. Fans immediately started dissecting every frame of that video. Was this intentional shade? Did Cierra specifically request this song from the DJ? Did she pay the DJ to play it at a specific time? Was she waiting for the song to come on so she could film this exact moment? Or was the timing just a universe having a sick sense of humor? Was this a coincidence of cosmic proportions or calculated content creation? Comments under the various reposts were absolutely brutal. People saying the fact that she's at her ex's party dancing to Don't Ya is behavior that needs clinical evaluation. Others pointing out that showing up to a Nicolandrian event specifically to create this kind of content is next level bold. Some comments were defending her right to be there. Others were calling it messy. Others were calling it iconic.
The discourse was everywhere. People were writing full essays and comment sections about the psychological implications. Think pieces were being drafted. Group chats were blowing up with opinions. The level of calculation or chaos, depending on how you see it, became the entire conversation.
Team Nicolandria defenders came out in full force, calling Cierra's attendance disrespectful and her social media posts intentionally provocative. They argued that even if she technically had a right to be there, the decision to actually attend showed a lack of respect for boundaries. They pointed out that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. They highlighted the fact that posting content from the party, especially that specific video with that specific song, crossed the line from attendance into territory that felt deliberately antagonistic. The way the video was edited, the way she framed the shot, the timing of posting it, all of it felt too convenient to be coincidental. Meanwhile, Team Cierra argued she had every right to be there, and people were reading way too much into a random song at a party. They said LA is a small world and running into exes is inevitable. They pointed out that she was invited by someone else, so she wasn't crashing. They argued that she's allowed to post content from her life and people are projecting intent that might not be there. They said the song was playing at the party regardless of whether she was there, so why shouldn't she film herself having fun? They accused Nic and Olandria fans of being overly protective and creating drama where none existed. They said if Nic and Olandria are secure in their relationship, one video shouldn't matter. With the internet in complete meltdown mode, people started demanding answers. Fans were tagging Cierra in comments asking for an explanation. The pressure for her to address it was mounting. Cierra addressed it, but in a way that somehow created more questions than answers. In a TikTok video, she explained that LA is big, but LA is small. Sometimes groups of people come together that you wouldn't expect, and that's just how it happens. She's not wrong about that. The LA influencer scene is interconnected in ways that create these awkward situations. Everyone knows everyone. Events overlap. Social circles intersect. What she's describing is a real phenomenon where you can't always avoid seeing people from your past.
She said she'd been invited by another castmate who was listed as a special guest on the party flyer. So technically, she wasn't crashing. She was a +1 to an official guest. This is an important distinction. In her defense, she didn't buy a ticket anonymously and show up uninvited. She didn't sneak in through a side door. Someone from the cast, someone who was officially listed on the promotional material as a special guest, invited her to come as their +1. In that context, she's arguing, how is she the bad guy for accepting an invitation from a friend? Why would she say no to her friend?
Fair point on the surface. If a friend invites you somewhere, you generally say yes. That's how friendships work. You support your friends, you attend things they invite you to. But then she added something that really set people off and added another layer to this entire situation. She claimed that nobody from the cast, not Nic, not Olandria, literally nobody, had reached out to her after she was removed from the villa. Not a text, not a call, not a DM, nothing from anybody. Complete radio silence. So it felt weird to her that people had an issue with her being there when she wasn't even invited by them specifically, and nobody had bothered to check on her after everything that happened. This is where the context gets really important. When Cierra left the show, it was during a dramatic moment that played out on national television. It wasn't a quiet exit. It was public. It was emotional. It was the kind of moment where you'd expect your friends, or at least the people you spent weeks living with in close quarters, to reach out and make sure you're okay. The fact that nobody did, according to her account, adds a layer of hurt and justification to her decision to attend this party. In her mind, if nobody cared enough to check on her, why should she care about respecting their boundaries at a party she was legitimately invited to attend? Look, I understand where she's coming from. If you go through something publicly difficult and none of your supposed friends check on you, that stings. It changes how you view those relationships. It makes you question whether those connections were ever real or if they were just villa friendships that ended the moment the cameras stopped rolling. I get why she'd feel justified in showing up to their party if someone else invited her. If they didn't care enough to reach out, why should she care about avoiding them? But here's where it gets complicated. Does the lack of communication justify the don't-ya energy? Because attending out of loyalty to a friend who invited you is one thing. That's a defensible position. But posting that specific moment with that specific song to social media is a deliberate choice that feels provocative. You're at the party, you're having fun, a song comes on, you could film yourself with friends, you could film the decorations, you could film the general party atmosphere, but you specifically choose to film yourself mouthing the words to a song about being better than someone's girlfriend while that person and their girlfriend are directly behind you in the frame, and then you choose to post it? That's not just documenting your night, that's making a statement. That's creating content that you know will generate conversation. Whether that was the intent or not, the impact is the same. The video became the story. Meanwhile, Nic and Olandria haven't publicly responded to any of this. They're just continuing to live their lives, which might actually be the most mature response possible. No statements, no clapbacks, no addressing it directly, no posting cryptic messages that could be interpreted as responses. They've taken the high road of simply not engaging with the drama at all. They let the party continue. They didn't make a scene. They didn't ask her to leave. They handled it privately, if they handled it at all, and they've moved on publicly. What's your take? Was Cierra justified in going, or should she have declined the invitation out of respect? And either way, was posting that video crossing a line? But wait, because the Halloween party wasn't the only drama happening that week. This is where the timeline gets really interesting, and the overlapping drama creates this perfect storm of Love Island chaos. Just days before or after, I've seen conflicting timelines on exactly when this happened, but it was definitely the same week. Taylor Williams, Olandria's ex-partner from the villa, posted a video asking Clarke Caraway to officially be his girlfriend. Now, girlfriend proposals are a thing in modern dating culture. Some people think they're cheesy, some people think they're romantic, but they're definitely a thing that happens, especially in influencer circles where relationship milestones become content opportunities. The proposal itself was incredibly elaborate. We're talking a rooftop venue with a view. An aisle lined with roses leading to candles, creating this romantic walkway. A massive heart-shaped arrangement made entirely of roses. That must have cost a fortune. Roses are not cheap, and we're talking about enough roses to create a heart shape large enough to be the centerpiece of this entire setup. A neon sign reading, "Will you be my bae?" which is very on brand for the current aesthetic of influencer proposals. And here's the kicker, a literal saxophone player performing live music during the proposal. A saxophone player. Someone hired a professional musician to play romantic music while this proposal happened. Very romantic, very grand, very public, very Instagram-worthy. This wasn't a casual, "Hey, do you want to be my girlfriend?" conversation over dinner. This was a fully produced event with multiple elements coordinated to create a specific experience and aesthetic. Someone had to book the rooftop venue. Someone had to order all those roses and arrange them. Someone had to design or order the neon sign. Someone had to hire the saxophone player. This required planning, coordination, budget, and execution. This was a statement proposal designed to be memorable and shareable. But what made the internet absolutely lose it was the caption on his Instagram post. Taylor wrote, "It's official, I pick you, always." Sound familiar? That's exactly what Taylor said when he chose Clarke over Olandria during Casa Amor. Those exact words. I pick Clarke. Not similar words, not words that could be interpreted multiple ways, the exact same phrase that became a defining moment of the season. The phrase that crushed Olandria when she heard it,
The phrase that changed the trajectory of multiple people's Love Island journeys. The phrase that fans remember as one of the most dramatic moments of the entire season. The internet immediately jumped on this as potential shade directed at Olandria. The timing alone, right around the same time as the Halloween party chaos involving Olandria and her new partner, felt pointed to a lot of people. It felt like too much of a coincidence. And the fact that Nic and Olandria still haven't done any kind of public girlfriend or boyfriend proposal made the contrast even more obvious and stark. Here you have Taylor making this massive public declaration with professional production value, and there you have Nic and Olandria who are taking things slow and private. The juxtaposition was impossible to ignore.
Comments under Taylor's post ranged from congratulations to people bringing up how he treated Olandria in the villa. Some people said he's going to use this corny tagline until the clout runs out. Others defended him, saying it's his own line, he made it popular, why can't he use it for his own relationship? It's not like he's stealing someone else's phrase. That specific phrase is associated with him. It became iconic because of him, so technically he has every right to use it however he wants for his own life. But the context of when he's using it and who it's connected to in the public consciousness makes it more complicated than just him reclaiming his own words.
Here's another layer that makes this even more interesting and adds dimension to Taylor's character and this relationship. Taylor was on crutches during this entire romantic proposal because he'd been recovering from a horse riding accident at a rodeo back in August. This isn't a minor detail. He literally got thrown from his horse and trampled, which is legitimately dangerous and could have been much worse. Had to have surgery, the whole situation. Weeks of recovery, physical therapy, the kind of injury that changes your daily life and requires someone to help take care of you.
Clarke stayed by his side throughout his recovery, which shows real commitment and genuine care. She wasn't just there for the fun times and the Instagram content. She was there during the difficult recovery period when things weren't glamorous, when he needed help with basic tasks, when he was in pain and frustrated. That kind of support during hardship reveals the real foundation of a relationship. So, on one hand, you have to give him credit. Even injured and on crutches, he pulled out all the stops for this proposal. He didn't wait until he was fully healed. He didn't postpone it because the crutches would be in the photos. He made it happen and made it special despite the circumstances.
But on the other hand, that caption with those specific words, the timing while Nicolandria is being dragged for not doing exactly this kind of thing, the grand gesture as a contrast to their private approach, the optics are fascinating to say the least. It creates this narrative where Taylor is the guy who knows what he wants and goes after it with grand gestures, while Nic is the guy who's taking his time and being more reserved. Neither approach is inherently wrong, but the public perception and the way fans are responding to each couple couldn't be more different. Quick break from the chaos. If you're still here, you're a real one, and I appreciate you sticking with me through all these layers of drama. Subscribe if you haven't already because there's always more mess where this came from, and I promise to keep breaking it down for you. Hit the like button too because your support genuinely keeps these videos happening and helps we know what content you want to see more of. All right, back to the drama, and trust me, there's still more to unpack here.
This is where we need to talk about what's really happening beneath the surface of all this drama. Nic and Olandria are being publicly roasted for not rushing into labels, not making grand gestures, not performing their relationship the way the internet demands. Meanwhile, Taylor and Clarke are being celebrated for doing exactly those things, even though they've known each other for roughly the same amount of time. Both couples formed during the same season. Both couples have been together for approximately the same length of time post-show. But the public response to how they're handling their relationships couldn't be more different. Which relationship approach is actually healthier? That's the real question nobody wants to ask because it complicates the narrative. Taylor and Clarke moved fast. They went from Casa Amor coupling to exclusive in the villa to making it Instagram official with roses and saxophones. It's romantic. It's public. It's decisive. It gives people what they want to see. It feeds the fan desire for clear relationship milestones and public declarations. It creates content that people can engage with, share, and celebrate. From a social media standpoint, it's perfect.
Nic and Olandria are taking their time, building a foundation, going on trips together to places like Greece where they can actually get to know each other without the constant pressure of cameras and fans. Meeting families, which is a significant step that shows serious intent even without a label. Letting things develop naturally without the pressure of performance. Spending time together without feeling the need to document every single moment for social media validation. Having private conversations about where they're going without turning it into public content, creating a relationship that exists for them first and the public second. And guess which couple gets more hate? The internet seems to have decided that if you're not rushing to put a label on it and announce it to the world with professional production value, your relationship must be fake. As if taking your time and being intentional about building something real is somehow less valid than grand romantic gestures. As if slow equals suspicious and private equals pretend. As if the only relationships that count are the ones performed for public consumption. This mindset reveals more about our collective relationship with social media and reality TV than it does about any of these actual relationships.
Olandria has not been silent about the criticism surrounding her relationship. In multiple interviews and social media posts, she's addressed the hate directly and honestly. She's talked about how the constant speculation and pressure affects her mental health, how exhausting it is to have thousands of strangers dissect every aspect of your relationship and decide if it's real based on whether you're performing enough for their entertainment. She's been open about the fact that she and Nic are building something genuine, and they're doing it on their own timeline, regardless of what anyone else thinks they should be doing. She's not being defensive about it. She's being clear about their intentions and boundaries.
She's given specific examples of why their connection is real, and these examples sound way more authentic than any neon sign or saxophone player. These are the details that can't be faked or staged for content. She talked about how Nic speaks life over her, which is a specific way of describing emotional support that goes beyond generic compliments. How he's always telling her how proud he is of her accomplishments and pushing her toward opportunities even when she doubts herself. How he actively works to expand her platform and create opportunities for her to succeed. This isn't just about posting cute couple photos. This is about actively supporting someone's career and personal growth.
She mentioned how he checks in on her mental health, which is huge. Makes sure she's okay beyond just surface level, how was your day conversations. Asks his team, his actual professional team, for advice on how to be the best partner he can be for her specifically. That level of intentionality about being a good partner isn't something people usually discuss publicly, but it's the kind of detail that reveals someone's true character. These are the quiet, consistent things that actually build a relationship that lasts.
But because it's not being performed for the cameras with roses and saxophones and neon signs, people question if it's real. The absence of performance art has become suspicious to an audience trained to expect constant content. Let's be honest about what's happening here. Taylor posts a girlfriend proposal with all the bells and whistles, uses the same words he used when he chose Clarke over Olandria and Casa Amor, and people celebrate it as romantic. Cierra shows up to her ex's party, posts content with a song about wishing your girlfriend was different while they're literally in the background, and people debate whether she was justified. Meanwhile, Nic and Olandria are living their lives, going on international trips, meeting each other's families, building a genuine connection, not performing for anyone, and they're the ones being called fake. The math isn't mathing. The logic isn't logicking. The whole thing is backwards.
I'm not saying Taylor and Clarke's relationship isn't real. Let me be very clear about that, because I don't want to dismiss what they have. By all accounts, Clarke stuck by him through a literal horse-trampling injury and recovery. That's genuine commitment that goes beyond Instagram aesthetics. I'm not saying their approach is wrong or that they shouldn't celebrate their relationship publicly. But the idea that Nicolandria is somehow less valid because they're not rushing to make grand public declarations, that's ridiculous. That's a double standard based entirely on performance rather than substance.
Some of the strongest relationships I know took years to make it official. Some people who rush to post couple photos and relationship updates break up within months because the foundation wasn't actually there. Performance doesn't equal authenticity. The lack of performance doesn't equal fakery. These are separate things that we've conflated because of social media culture and reality TV expectations. We've trained ourselves to believe that real relationships look a certain way, when in reality, real relationships look 1,000 different ways depending on the people involved.
Where does all of this leave us at the end of October? You've got Sierra, who attended her ex's party with a +1 invitation, posted content that many saw as shady, and defended her right to be there since no one from the cast reached out after her exit. You've got Taylor, who made things official with Clarke via an elaborate proposal, complete with his signature phrase from Casa Amor. Whether that was shade toward Olandria or just a genuine celebration of his relationship is still being debated across every platform, and probably will be for weeks to come. And you've got Nic and Olandria, quietly building a relationship on their own timeline, facing criticism from all sides for not performing their love story the way the internet demands.
Here's what I actually think is going on. Everyone in this situation is messy in their own way. That's just human nature. Nobody's perfect. Everyone makes questionable decisions sometimes. Reality TV amplifies it because everything happens under public scrutiny. Social media magnifies it because everything becomes content that gets analyzed and shared and debated. But the couple getting the most hate is the one that's actually trying to do things right by taking their time and building a real foundation. That should tell us something about our priorities as an audience.
Is it messy that Sierra went to the party? Yeah, probably. The optics alone were wild no matter how you slice it. But does she have the right to live her life and attend events she's invited to? Also, yes. She's a human being with her own social circle and her own right to exist in LA spaces. Is it potentially shady that Taylor used that specific caption at that specific time? Maybe. The timing certainly raised eyebrows and created inevitable comparisons. But does he have the right to celebrate his relationship however he wants, with whatever words feel meaningful to him? Absolutely. It's his relationship and his social media. Should Nic and Olandria have to rush into making their relationship Instagram official just to prove it's real to strangers on the internet who will never meet them and have no stake in their actual happiness? Absolutely not. That's ridiculous when you really think about it. The idea that we get to dictate the pace and presentation of other people's relationships is wild. But that's where we are as a culture that consumes reality TV and social media content. The real issue is that we're watching real people navigate real emotions and real relationships under the microscope of public opinion. And that's always going to be messy because people are inherently messy. What I find most fascinating about this entire situation is how it reveals our collective need to categorize relationships as either real or fake, genuine or for clout, as if relationships exist in these neat little boxes with clear labels. The truth is, most relationships exist in the gray area between those extremes. You can genuinely care about someone and be aware that your relationship generates content and engagement. You can take your time developing feelings and be strategic about what you share publicly. You can be building something real while dealing with the pressure of fan expectations.
Maybe Nic and Olandria's connection is growing slowly and genuinely, exactly as they say it is. Maybe external pressure and constant speculation actually makes relationships harder, not easier to navigate when you're trying to figure out your feelings. Maybe, and this might be radical, we could just let people date without turning it into a forensic investigation where we analyze every post, every caption, every absence of a post. As for the party situation, I'm not saying Sierra's approach was the height of maturity or the best decision she could have made. Posting yourself vibing to that specific song at your ex's party with his new girlfriend right behind you is definitely a choice that creates a certain narrative. But I'm also not going to pretend that if I were in her shoes, feeling abandoned by people who were supposed to be friends, feeling like nobody cared enough to check on me after a difficult public exit, getting invited by someone else who did care, I wouldn't be tempted to show up and make my presence known. Is it the healthy choice? Probably not. Would a therapist recommend it? Definitely not. Is it understandable human behavior when you're hurt and feeling petty? Absolutely. We've all made decisions based on emotion rather than logic. We've all done things we knew would stir the pot because we were feeling some type of way.
The truth is, we'll probably never know the full truth of what happened between any of these people. We're seeing edited footage from the show that was cut together to create specific narratives. We're seeing curated social media posts that each person decides to share. We're hearing carefully worded interviews where publicists and managers have input on messaging. The actual conversations, the private moments, the real feelings, the full context of every situation, those belong to them alone. We're all just spectators making judgments based on incomplete information. But what we can see is this. While everyone else is performing their relationships with roses and saxophones and potentially shady party appearances, Nic and Olandria are just trying to build something real without the performance art. And maybe that's exactly why people are so convinced it's fake. We've become so used to relationships being performed for our entertainment that quiet, genuine connection looks suspicious by comparison. The absence of performance reads as absence of authenticity, when really it might just be the presence of something more substantial that doesn't need external validation.
So I'm turning it over to you. Who do you think is in the right here? Is anyone fully in the wrong? Or is this just a situation where everyone's a little bit messy and that's okay? Do you think Cierra was justified in attending the party as someone's plus one? Was posting that specific video crossing a line? Or just her living her life? Do you think Taylor's caption was shade toward Olandria or just him celebrating his relationship with words that are meaningful to him? And most importantly, do you think Nic and Olandria owe anyone a public declaration of their relationship status, or should they be allowed to figure things out at their own pace? Let me know in the comments because I genuinely love reading your perspectives on these situations. The takes in the comments are always better than anything I could come up with, and I learn from hearing different viewpoints.